he doesn't. Well done, Manchester United.
It's a Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! And it's saved it! United again! Renee! A magnificent goal by Robin van
Persie. Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host this week, Nick.
I'm Ashwin.
And I'm not your host this week, Mark.
Yep, three of us back on over here that we've been on, for the past couple of weeks. And I think, you had a two-man show while I was away. Was it last week or the week before?
Yes, exactly. How long have you been skiving, Nick?
Not sure. It's all got lost in the ether, basically. But look, this show anyway, we're focusing on Southampton, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, and then we'll have a bit of a look ahead to Paris Saint-Germain, and then next weekend's match against Arsenal, which is actually going to be big important one for the top four race, which is all hotting up and looking pretty interesting at the moment. But look, let's focus straight away. We're recording Saturday night, a few hours after a very roller coaster ride against Southampton today. I think look, these are kind of those kind of games on paper that everybody thinks, we're going to win that, no problem. But with all our kind of injuries, a lot of different changes of lineup, seeing kind of a few fringe players more than we expected, it's been, quite interesting. Plus, it's been a double game week with a game midweek. So, there's been a few random results being thrown up in the last few days. But, pre-match, were you both feeling confident, or were you both a bit unsure? I was actually a bit worried about this week because, like you say, people take these matches like Crystal Palace, Southampton for granted. But when you play both of them in a week, and they're both kind of teams that need the points at this time of year for relegation battles with our injuries, I did not expect actually to come out of these two matches with a full 6 points. And so, very happy to come to the end of this week and get full points out of it. I don't know how either of you two were feeling on it all.
I was more nervous about Palace than Southampton, to be honest.
Because it was away, I suppose.
And I just, we were even more shorthanded. We had just played, not even just the fact that we were shorthanded, but, we put so much into that Liverpool match. It was, everyone really put in a shift in that match. So, coming back, having to play 3 days later, it's not easy, especially not with so many of the key players having to play again without any rotation. But so I was a lot more worried about Palace. But I do think that you can kind of see with Pogba recently, I think you can kind of see that he is getting that workload, and just the fact that he hasn't really been rested at all since Ole took over. He got plenty of rest under Jose though. Not too much rest under Ole, but luckily he will get some nice enforced rest this week against PSG. Will not be able to play, so I think that'll be good for him. I think we'll see a bit more from him again down the stretch, which we need. So, but anyway, to answer the question, I was not too worried about this match, and I was worried about Palace, and it turns out I should have flipped the way I felt about both those matches.
Look, I was actually pretty impressed by Southampton. David Hasselhoff over there is doing a pretty good job, right?
David Hassenhuzzle.
But no, look, he's got them playing pretty well. And but although, look, their two goals are like those kind of stunning strikes that only seem to happen at Old Trafford when these players turn up and pull out their goals of their whole lifetimes or whatever.
I thought we were playing Burnley or something. That's what they do against us. They just score these worldies.
Yeah, the geezer Valerie, has he even ever scored before?
Pez legend Valerie with the kids.
Yeah, vaguely seen him play a couple of times. I think he's some young French kid, right? But I bet he's not scored any goal like that before. And all right, James Ward-Prowse has got a bit of a reputation on set pieces and all, but again, an absolute stunning free kick against us. Like I said, I know Ashwin, we have this kind of bit of chat while the match is going on. And I know at half time you were pretty worried, saying, it's feeling like one of those days, whereas I think me and Mark were a bit more, look, relax, we're only at half time. But yeah, when that free kick went in and it went 2-2, at that point, I was a bit worried and kind of thought, yeah, look, maybe we're going to have to take a point out of this game. But to really get, 3 out of this, it's actually one of the biggest, most battling wins we've had really under Ole. I mean, for him, of course, apart from the loss against PSG, things have kind of gone pretty much to plan. But this game, Southampton pushed us all the way, right? I mean, what did you think the problem was, Mark, in the first half? It looked like a pretty disjointed performance, like almost it wasn't that Southampton got away with one or anything. We hadn't created that much, and it looked like they were kind of worth their 1-0, really.
Well, I mean, Angus Gunn in the first 5 minutes did pull out a couple of really, really good saves. Lukaku should have had us 1-0 up within the first 3 minutes. That was a really good save from Gunn. Pereira almost did him with a free kick, not a free kick, like a cross come shot type thing, which he almost ran underneath. So we were unlucky to not have a goal by the time that they scored. I don't think that should get lost in the ether at all. The reason why Southampton sort of played so well is because they just got at us. They just really, really ran at us. And Højbjerg was an absolute terrier in midfield all game. And luckily, towards the end, he started to flag a little bit. But we're just referring back to the chat, I think the sentiment is that they could not keep up that pace that they were going at with their pressing for the entire 90 minutes. And it showed in the end. But absolutely all credit to that first half performance from them. That they came and they were, although I think 1-1 wouldn't have been unfair, but I think just on the chances created, I think I wouldn't have been upset if I was Southampton if I'd gone in behind either. But it was a hell of a strike. But again, De Gea should have done better with it, to be honest with you. That was my feeling about it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit harsh on De Gea, but I guess we have high expectations of him nowadays. I mean, it was a ridiculous strike, and he probably wasn't expecting anything like that. Look, he could have done better. I wouldn't particularly blame him for that. I just put it down to a great shot, really. I don't know what you thought about Ashwin. Are you in the blaming De Gea or giving the credit to the strike?
I give the credit to the strike. I'm at a point where I just don't blame De Gea for anything. I know you can do both.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You can.
Unless he makes like a horrible mistake like he did against Arsenal or something, I just tend to think that if he couldn't stop it, I'm good with just saying that it was probably an amazing strike. I don't know. I thought it swerved a little bit right before it got to his reach, and I think that's why he wasn't able to get enough on it to push it wide of the post. But I guess that unfortunately that happens. Luckily, we still got the 3 points. But I can understand. I'm not a goalkeeper, so on something like that, I think it's just okay to give credit to the strike. And maybe you could say Pogba should have closed down faster, or we should have cut out the entire move sooner. I don't know. It's just when that was like. When I saw it was just such a ridiculous strike that I think sometimes instead of blaming or anything, you just I don't know. I thought it was such a good strike. I didn't think anything of it. It kind of reminded me actually of I think that the guy in Newcastle scored one like that last week. Yeah, right. It was almost the exact same area, same type of shot. So yeah, that was a great goal. There's really not much else I can say about that.
I mean, like the most worrying thing was that we did get a bit better after the goal, of course, but we didn't create a whole lot. I mean, for me, the biggest issue was Sanchez, and he's still been he's had quite a lot of minutes now, been given every chance to get in form, play a bit. And, out of all the players who've improved since Jose's left, he's still just stinking the place up, basically. Today's playing kind of at the tip of a diamond, where you think it is the best position for him, because I know, we've talked about the fact that when he plays out wide, he's always drifting in field. He's not really giving us maybe the width that we need. Maybe, Martial sticks a bit wider than he does. But this in theory should be perfect for him, playing that kind of position behind the strikers, got a bit of freedom to do his thing, but just literally getting nothing from him. I mean, he's still kind of running around and doing the kind of leg work, but I don't know. For me, he's done. He's finished.
I think he's finished, and I also think that if he if he's not totally finished, his role is it's just not as a starter. He has to be an impact sub or something like that. And
I mean, even as impact sub at the moment, I'd prefer to see, I don't know, whether it's Chong or Gomez, whoever.
Or Dalot.
Like, Dalot's now being given some kind of attacking positions. And for me, even now, Sanchez should even, it's a question mark whether he should even be one of the first, substitutes coming in, never mind a starter.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just not really, it feels like it's a combination of his game has dropped completely, and then also the fact he always seems like he's trying to prove something instead of just kind of playing. He did actually have one really nice layoff to Shaw on an overlap that we probably would have scored on if Rashford hadn't kind of taken his touch away from Lukaku. But yeah, it's like you see some flashes every now and then, but there's nothing even resembling consistency or.
You're always going to see those flashes because we know what standard he was capable of. As I said, I've said it before on this, it was only 2 seasons ago that he was probably the best player in the Premier League for 2-3 years. But he's a shadow of that player now. And previously with other players, you could put it down to not fitting into Jose's system and we're not playing the right way. But now, he's been given enough of a chance. And for me, like I say, I can't see him staying much beyond the summer now.
You alluded to it a little bit there with how everybody's kind of had their chance now, and the two that were on the chopping block seemingly after the first run of games were Sanchez and Lukaku, and Lukaku now with this sort of mini run he's had in the side, he had a really good performance against Liverpool. I think not really good, but was our main creative threat against Liverpool. And then he had a understated performance out there where I think he did a lot better or deserved a lot more credit than what he actually got. And now he's had the 2 goal was it 2 goals he got against Palace or was it just the one?
Yeah.
2 goals. Two goals against Palace, 2 goals against Southampton in situations where we really needed them as well. And he's definitely stepped up.
His work rate has been on. I know you said that. I don't know. Of course, the goals always help, but against Liverpool, he played out of position for the team. He played on the right wing because Rashford could not play on the wing in that match. He was couldn't move, and so there are a lot of things I've definitely criticized Lukaku plenty, but his actual mentality, I have never actually questioned that. Sometimes it's his application where I don't think he presses well or doesn't move off the ball well or any of those things is different, but his actual commitment and application to the team, I think he really is a very, very unselfish team player, which is rare for a striker for sure. He seems very, very much, I don't know, his reactions and stuff when we win, I don't know, he always just seems very much into I guess it's easy to say very much into winning, but some people need to be a part of a victory to feel a part of it, I guess.
You can see when he gets goals and in the celebrations that the players are very much or always sort of very, very happy for him. They seem to be incredibly happy for him to do well. Mm. And I think that's quite telling as well. Not that I think Sanchez is excluded from that or anything, but I think it's very noticeable with Lukaku, and I think he probably is one of the leaders in the dressing room, and you can sort of see that, and it's coming out a lot more in these last couple of games, I think, where it would be really easy for him to do the typical striker thing and kind of maybe try and stay away and not try and take the chances on or whatever, but he's been taking on chances with his weaker foot. Been putting in that weaker foot training on his right foot as well. So he may be preparing for a life that might see him as more of an inside forward on the right. Who knows? But it's working for him at the minute, and not before time because we're certainly going to need him on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, and look, I think comparing Sanchez and Lukaku since Mourinho's left is very interesting, and in fact there is a thread on Red Cafe at the moment. There's a poll as well.
Should we cut our losses?
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that thread so much.
there's all the different options. Shall we sell both? Shall we keep both? Shall we sell Lukaku, keep Sanchez, sell Sanchez, keep Lukaku? And for me, it's pretty crazy that, like, yeah, the most popular option is actually to sell them both, get rid of them. And, you know, I voted for get rid of Sanchez, keep Lukaku. And I've said on this podcast a few weeks ago that, yeah, I'm pretty sure Lukaku is going to be an important player for us this season and will still score some goals. And he was getting, I think, too much criticism. He was way off form for sure early this year. But yeah, let's not forget that he actually had a pretty decent first season. He scored, 25, 26 goals for us last year that you can't really knock in any way whatsoever. And yeah, I think we all know.
Now, after these last two matches, I think he is. I think he has 12 goals in the league, which is tied with Hazard. You know, a player who apparently can never be criticized. And then he's also like I think
he's got more. I think he got 12 after Palace, and he might be on like 14 now, isn't he? I don't know if that's the league or all matches.
Yeah, this is just the league. This is just the league. And then he has scored a goal every 141 minutes in the league. Harry Kane has scored a goal every 140 minutes. So it just, I mean, he has been bad for so long, but it does. Yeah, I think he is that. He seems like that kind of striker though, where he scores goals in, like, he's like a kind of a glutton. Like he scores a bunch of goals in stretches, and then there will be like a month where he does not score. And I think what makes it stand out perhaps even more than other strikers is when he's off, he's just so clunky. Like, it kind of reminds me of Rooney like that, because when Rooney was off, he would just be so horrible to watch. Like, he just wouldn't be able to do anything, and it was basically like watching like something. It's like it was just bad. But now he's scoring again, and not just the scoring, but I think I mentioned it. Like, even going back to even when he got a start against Arsenal in the FA Cup, he wasn't. I don't think he scored in that match, but he was central to the goals. Like, the way he was playing.
Yeah, he played really well.
His hold-up play and bring others in has been really good. So even when he hasn't been scoring,
that match, he's actually been very encouraging. It was even before then for a few weeks. He'd got the odd goal here and there, but they were just like tap-ins, and he didn't play particularly well, but scored a few goals coming off the bench or whatever after coming back from injury. But in this this week in particular, I mean, the goals he's scored were actually damn good goals. They weren't just like happening to hit his bloody knee or whatever and go in. He's basically won that Palace game for us midweek, and today as well. Like, but the two finishes are brilliant finishes. Yeah. So yeah, look, credit to him. And yeah, I wouldn't if Martial is fit next week. He's not going to get in the team. He's going to have to fight for his place back.
That's a good thing, though. Like, that
is a good thing. We need that.
Yeah, that's what we haven't had. I don't think we should. I agree with you. We shouldn't sell Lukaku. And I don't think I said we. I don't know. I actually don't remember what my answer is.
The only thing is whether Lukaku, if we're fully fit, and like, all right, a couple of weeks ago we said that, look, quite clearly our first team and forward line is Martial, Lingard, Rashford. And the only issue is, would Lukaku be happy to be second choice in that kind of position? I mean, look, he's fought for his place, and at the moment you'd say, look, he's got his place back, because he's, even if Lingard and Martial are fit, I don't think Lukaku's getting dropped at the moment. But we have to see how far this kind of run goes. So yeah, look, all credit to him. So like I say, comparing those two players, there's a big difference. But yeah, look, with this kind of last couple of matches, we've had a good chance to look at a few more fringe players that we haven't seen very much of, and I've got a bone to pick with both of you, right? So let's start with Mark, because I think we had a question from one of the listeners a couple of weeks ago talking about who can we look to replace Matic going forward? And I'd asked you what you thought about McTominay, and you were very dismissive of him being any kind of option for us going forward. But yeah, Matic has been out. He's come in, and I wouldn't say he's been outstanding, but I think he's done a damn good job, right?
I'm quite happy to hold my hands up and say that on the basis of 270 minutes, he has proved me wrong over the course of that 270 minutes. What can you say? That the Palace performance was great. The Liverpool performance was great. Today's performance was less good than those two, but again, still, I don't think anywhere near as bad as what people are suggesting. I think it was maybe around about a 6 out of 10 type of performance from him, a slightly above average one.
Nondescript.
But it's not even the kind of performance whereby I'd be. I wouldn't be too worried by it. Like, it wasn't a case of him getting caught out by the press or anything like that, because he was pressed to fuck when one of the masters of the whole gegenpress thing came and visited us last week and pressed him, and he was perfectly fine in that kind of atmosphere. So I've got right now, as I start, I'm still to be convinced by him as a long-term option, but I am no longer in a position whereby I fear any time where he may start. I think this is now his role, and this is the role that he needs to occupy now. I don't think we can, me personally, I don't think we can ask for anything more from him than what he's doing now. I think Solskjaer should forget any sort of flights of fancy that that he can occupy the sort of role that Herrera does and do that and be proficient at that. Because I don't see that, but he has shown me that there is at least the foundation and basis of a good number 6 there. And if he can build on that over the next 2 to 3 years while still being a squad option, then more power to him. You know, it's not that you don't want a player like McTominay to succeed. You always want academy lads to do well. And he shouldn't be given a free ride just because he is an academy lad, though, by the same token. But if he continues on with his performances that he's had over the last couple of weeks, then for sure that can save us 20-30 million quid down the line. So absolutely, carry on, son.
Yeah, he's a funny player, McTominay, because it's difficult to pick out anything that he's actually brilliant at. But
no, it isn't.
Same time, you don't really notice. Yeah,
he's really good from a defensive positioning standpoint. He's got a really uncanny Carrick-like ability to know where the ball is
be
going
in the right place
and intercept. Yeah. If he hones that and listens to Carrick, and he's very good at that. And I brought up his performance that he had against Reading in the second half, whereby I think he made 8 interceptions and I think 11 or 12 interceptions and blocks combined in that second half alone, which is phenomenal. No matter who the opposition is. So he's very good at that. And that's the thing that he needs to build upon. And he even showed that he's really good at getting the ball through the lines as well. It's sort of this where people underrate how good Roy Keane was as a passer, but all his passes would usually break the lines. And I'm not saying that McTominay is on that kind of level, but he has that kind of vision for it. He will always manage to ping one straight into Pogba, and Pogba will make it stick. And I think there's about 5 or 6 instances against Crystal Palace whereby we could have done more with it. But those are 2 very, very good things to have if you're going to start using that as the basis of being a central defensive midfielder for this club.
Yeah, I think at one point today, actually, though, Young got on him for being a little too safe with his passing. Maybe it might have been in the first half. I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing that. But I mean, I also. There's always that's why you need minutes, right? Because there's a time to be safe, and then there's a time to look to play, like you said, break the lines, play more direct. And, I think he tends to start games off in a more cautious fashion. And then after maybe the first 15, 20 minutes, I think he feels more comfortable, playing through the lines, bypassing the fullback and just playing it out to the wing. I think he actually benefited a lot from Dalot coming on because it gave him that option to play forward to the right-handed side. So, I think he had the first 2 matches he played, I was really happy with him. So against Liverpool and Palace, but I think today, I don't think he had a bad match today necessarily. He didn't. It's not like I was watching the match and was like, "Wow, what a shit performance!" He could, even if we had drawn, I wouldn't have thought that McTominay cost us, right? But I do think that when we were more restricted against Liverpool and even against Palace away, I don't think we played a very expansive game. I think we did play a little bit more cautiously, especially with all the injuries, which understandably, right? But today, I thought when we kind of had to dictate the game more or less against Southampton at home, when we commit numbers forward, I still don't know if he is strong. I know he had 3 interceptions today. I know he had but I just did not feel like we looked solid. And again, he's 22. That's a position that it's pretty hard to be fully developed and perfect all the time at that age. So I'm not writing him off, but I do worry about how consistent he can be in that position in matches where we're going to be in possession more, where we're going to have to commit numbers forward more to break down a team. I think maybe that's where he's a little bit more susceptible. Whereas in big matches, actually, I think it suits him and what he does better than what we do against Southampton or a team like that at home.
But yeah, we shouldn't forget as well that he's come into the team that, all right, against Liverpool he started and there was Herrera and Pogba there, but Herrera's gone out injured, and that's for these 2 matches he's then been playing in a very unfamiliar midfield with whether it's Fred, whether it's Pereira. So it's not just him, whether if he's just coming in and the rest of the midfield is the same, it's obviously going to be a lot easier. But yeah, he's actually coming in and the only one of those 3 that is the usual choice is Pogba, and he's the more attacking one as well. So yeah, he's then sat there kind of doing his job almost on his own, whereas it's different where he starts against Liverpool and Herrera's kind of there to tell him where to be, what to do. But then it makes a big difference. And then we got on to the next player. So yeah, that was the one to pick out on you, Mark. Next up is Ashwin. Let's talk about Andreas Pereira, because at half-time in the match today, Ashwin sends everybody a message saying, Pereira, he's not good enough to play for Manchester United.
I didn't say Manchester. I said he just was not good enough today.
But I'm pretty sure you said even previously, what was the game Pereira played and he had a bit of a stinker?
You mean the one where he literally cost us a goal?
He gave the ball away.
The Burnley game.
Yeah. No, he did. He had a bad game. And I think you were the criticism that day was fairer. But you were kind of saying that you didn't think he's up to kind of standard for United.
I'm still not sold he is. I mean, I'm not. I cannot let, obviously if he produces like that, but I mean, do you really think on average he's going to be putting up Pogba type production? Because that's basically what he did today. He had a goal and an assist.
No, but look, I tell you what, okay, look, like I said, at half-time, you're writing him off. 10 minutes later, he's scored a cracker, and 5 minutes after that, he's set one up as well. What I actually think about Pereira is that he's not a central midfielder.
So he's a 10, basically?
For me, he's an attacking player, and he should be kind of, say, like Mata's understudy, something like that is where I see him. And I haven't got a clue why Mourinho played him at number 6.
Because Mourinho was trying to get fired. He was trying to get sacked.
That to me was, to be fair, he actually seemed like he had a couple of good games there, but it was like pre-season, whatever, so it doesn't mean a lot. But yeah, that is not the kind of position I see him going forward in. For me, he's this kind of more attacking player, and maybe he can play number 10, maybe he can play that kind of, more how Mata plays coming in from the right side, something like that. Not exactly a winger, but like an inside right. And yeah, for me, he shouldn't really be having too many defensive responsibilities, and he's much more about his creative side and can be attacking. And yeah, he came into it basically after Sanchez has gone off, right? He's then been pushed a bit further forward to play a bit more creative role. Dallow's come in on the other side as well to help there. And yeah, immediate, there's like a big difference. I mean, I don't know, Mark, I know you follow, of course, the youth and all, what you ever thought Pereira's position was, because that's always been still the big question mark for him. This is the year he's finally come in to be part of the squad after having a pretty, I'd say, quite a good kind of loan couple of years. Granada, then Valencia. I think that for me, that's a good progression, and then coming into the squad. But yeah, what did you ever think his best position was going to be?
There was a consensus amongst the nerd in the reserve stroke youth forum, shout out to that forum, that he was, that he probably had the attitude of an 8, but the quality on the ball of a 10, and that he might be able to sort of settle into a role as being, as he has been really on the right hand side of a central midfield 3. He's much better when he's just going forward. he can put a tackle in, and he's defensively aware. He's not just a player that concerns himself with going forward. He does concern himself with the other bit going back as well. But he is magic sometimes, and he does have magic in his feet, and it's annoying that that he's kind of done what he's done today, because I was really, really just sort of hoping that we'd get him a move away at the end of the season and that he would just sort of go on and flourish. But now I'm in love with him again. Like it was so easy to fall in love with Pereira and Januzaj in those youth teams. Like they were head and shoulders above everybody who they came up against. And it's been difficult for Pereira to transition that into senior level football. He was good at Granada, but he didn't stand out, and he was good at Valencia, but he never stood out. And I think that's probably where he can be for us as well. He can be very good for us, but I don't think he'll ever stand out. But again, it's another academy product who can save us 20, 30 million quid. He's a very, very talented footballer. It's just a case of whether or not it's all going to click for him while he's here. I'm not entirely convinced that it will, but I hope it does, because he can do things like that. And the free kick against Ipswich when he made his debut in the Carling Cup and things like that, he's a very, very good footballer.
I just want to say that I don't actually, like, he has talent. I'm not questioning that, but like you mentioned, he is defensively aware, but he's not actually good at defending. Which is like, I mean, that's not necessarily an unworkable situation, but if he's...
That can be improved upon, though. That's not a mentality thing. Like, if it was ingrained in his mentality that he didn't think that he had to do the bit going the other way, that's a concern. But
I will say that I've seen him give the ball away in our own half too many times. That is my major criticism of him. And, I'm not even thinking about that goal he gave away earlier. Like, as soon as he came on against Liverpool, even though he had a pretty decent performance, there was still a couple of times I remember, just nearish our boxes giving the ball away. And it's just a few too many times I've noticed him losing possession in areas where you don't really want to be giving the ball away. And that, for me, is still why I say I don't think he's a midfielder, and that he should only be playing more further forward when it's needed. And that's at the moment for me, Pereira, he'll be a squad player, whereas I probably have a bit more hope for actually McTominay. Possibly, I don't see why he can't come in and be Matic's kind of understudy, and maybe in another year's time start playing a lot more matches in that position. That's kind of where I see them at the moment. But yeah, we've only had 2-3 games to go off this week. But yeah, it has been an interesting one to see these fringe players, and I'm sure, Mark, you were ecstatic as well, even though there were just a couple of minutes here there to see James Garner got a couple of minutes against Palace, and Tahith Chong as well, just a kind of last minute sub today. And I guess Ole's just kind of saying, look, this is what you could have if you work hard and keep going in the reserves and whatever. The only interesting thing, and I don't know if we'll go into deep detail on it today, but one day we will, is that nowadays, we've seen Rashford and McTominay literally go straight from academy reserves straight into the team, whereas that never used to happen. You always used to have to go out on loan, have a successful loan somewhere before you had any chance of getting into the first team. But do you think that's all changing now, and that maybe the whole loan thing is not really working out like it used to?
We're seeing that with City, and Chelsea. Once you start sending these kids out on loan, they're fucking done with you.
Yeah, Chelsea obviously have some ridiculous. Don't they have something 20, maybe even 30 players or something out on loan or something crazy?
I think it's that these kids are smarter now. You see all the kids that City is losing from their academy, they're just leaving straight because they're like, okay, well, instead of signing a professional contract and then either not playing because I know Pep's not going to play me because you has 50-60 million pound reserve sitting on the bench, or being sent on loan because he won't play me, I'm just not going to sign out of a professional contract with you out of the academy, and then I'm going to go to the Bundesliga and jump straight into their first team.
Yeah, well, exactly. Everybody's seeing Jadon Sancho doing that. And in fact, never mind that. This is exactly what happened to Paul Pogba several years ago with us. It was the exact same kind of situation. And I don't know whether nowadays, whether the likes of Chong and Garner, do they need to go out on loan, or is it better for them just to fight for their place right now?
They need to be here and they need to be fighting. The first episode I was back, we touched on this lightly. In my feelings on it then, and my feelings on it haven't changed for the last 2 or 3 years or so. It's so low percentage, and there seems to be this accepted wisdom that players from these big clubs somehow need to go out on loan in order for them to be able to prove themselves at a big club. They need to go to a smaller club to prove that they can do it at a big club. How the fuck does that work? Tell me how the fuck that is meant to work.
Well, it did used to work, right? Players like, we had Beckhams, we had even whether they're, it used to work.
Beckham played 8 times for Preston North End and bent in 1 free kick. Like, is that really indicative that did people at Preston North End really see the player that he was going to become there? No, it wasn't a fantastic loan spell that he had there. And Welbeck had a moderately successful period at Sunderland. He got injured while he was on loan at Preston North End. Loans should be the last resort for a player. The loan should come at around about 20, 21, where you can find a player or club and just say, right, okay, you've shown talent in the past. It's not quite worked for you to get into the first team thus far. Go out on loan and show us that you can be a fixture here. Players like Gomez and Garner and Chong, like, what is going to a championship club going to do for them? They're going to get kicked. That's all that's going to happen to them, is they're just going to get the shit kicked out of them. And they're going to come back in their shells. And it's not...
Especially, Chong plays on the right? He's like a right winger.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for him, he should stay. Because, like right now we're playing...
He's what we need. There is a need for him to be in the squad.
We're playing Dalot at right wing half the time now.
Well, we actually shouldn't forget that actually Dalot is no older than Chong, Garner. They're all like the same age. Whereas we think of Dalot as being like higher up in the kind of pecking order because he's been bought in. But they're all 19-year-olds. He's no older than them. So he doesn't really have any right to be that much higher than either of them. In fact, they've all been with the club longer than he has.
But Dalot has Champions League experience, and he's 19. And Chong doesn't have Champions League experience. He doesn't have multiple appearances in the Champions League. He doesn't have multiple appearances in the top level of a national league like Dalot.
So then that's the question. Do you not think that he needs to go and have that somewhere?
No.
Whether it's all right, it's not going to be in England, but yeah, whether it's in, I don't know, Portugal or...
It should be here. It should be with us. There's no reason for him to, like, he's shown it in the under 18s. He's shown it at the 23s. We have a vacancy there. Give it to him. Give him a go. Why? If Rashford, like, could you imagine if that summer we turned around, bought in 2 more strikers?
Are we going to talk about Rashford going on loan? Because Nick loves talking about this.
Yeah. Well,
could you imagine if we'd, like, where he might be now? If we turned around at the end of that summer and just gone, thanks.
So am I. I don't know if you know, there was only about 2 months ago that Alex and Ed on this podcast were saying that Rashford should go on loan.
Yeah,
never mind 2 years ago.
Stupid. It's dumb. It's dumb. Like, no, of course he didn't need to go out on loan. And could you imagine if we had sent him out on loan? Like, that summer, if we just said, thanks for the, thanks for being the shining light of the season. Now, go fuck off to West Ham and stay on the bench. Because again, it's this accepted wisdom that you needed to do it. And it's clubs that are lower down in the league and the pecking order that can't go out and afford, genuine squad backup. So they loan in players from big teams with no sort of thought about developing them. They got no interest in developing them, not at all. And they would take advantage of the fact that there was the accepted wisdom of the loan system. And now you have a lost generation of players that are just floating out there that had all the talent, but clubs just didn't know what to do with them. They just couldn't give them a pathway into the first team.
Yeah,
I actually think that it did used to work pretty well. Like, I'm talking like 10 years ago, maybe even longer. But that nowadays things have changed a lot. And that, as you say, these young players, they go to teams, they end up sitting on the bench. They don't even get given a chance because managers think, oh, well, I'm not going to take a chance on this young kid. And like you say, they go and play in the championship and it's much more physical and not that ready for it. I mean, yeah, I remember somebody like Cameron Borthwick-Jackson that actually I was quite excited by at one point and came in under Van Gaal, looked damn good, and he's just had like one crap loan after another, and now I don't even know, he's just lost somewhere. I don't even know where he is right now.
Is it Scunthorpe?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Fucking Scunthorpe. And he was putting in man of the match performances against Chelsea.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is totally lost after, I think he's had Wolves, and then he went to Leeds and just had an injury. Managers changed, weren't that interested. And that's it. Just kind of has lost 3 years of his life now. And nowadays, like you say, I kind of agree with you now, but I don't totally agree with you that it was always a waste of time, but I do think things have changed a lot. And especially, like you say, Chelsea have all these players out on loan. None of them ever seem to make it to the team. And
if you have one of these elite talents, I just think that these kids they understand what kind of leverage they have now way more and what is out there for them. So, and they have better opportunities. Like, forget but like Callum Hudson-Odoi or whatever his name is on Chelsea, he's like viewed as as a top talent. I think he played a starring role for the England U17s or whatever it was. And then, Bayern came in for him in January. And so like Chelsea's offering him a new contract, but he's like, why would I want to sign a new contract with you when you're never going to play me, because you're just going to buy someone at my position and then I have to compete with them.
They already have.
Yeah. They bought Pulisic, right? And I I doubt Pulisic is better. I doubt it based on fucking watching him all the time. But yeah, like I just think that, so like I think when you just see a kid making a decision like that, and then you see Sancho and you see all these kids that have gone to the Bundesliga or whatever, they just understand so much better what opportunities are out there for them and what they need at that point in their career, because what they need is to play. Like, that's what they need to do, is to play, or at least have the chance to play, right? Like, I think if you would understand if you were, 18, 19 years old coming up through Manchester United, okay, I'm not going to play, I'm not going to play 25 times, maybe. I'm not going to start 25 times for sure. But if you know that, every now and then you're going to get minutes on the pitch, or you're going to get a start, you'll play in the FA Cup, League Cup, whatever. If you know you're going to get those opportunities, and that if you play well you will stay in the team, or like you at least have that chance to carve out a space for yourself in the team, then you're more inclined to stay. Whereas like and we can actually point to players, like we can look, like Rashford did it, right? Hey, look, here's a kid that did it. And then with Solskjaer, I think it's become even more apparent that he is willing to give those chances. And like I think if he had come in earlier in the season when it was less desperate, it would be even more apparent. But just the fact that, like, against Chelsea, we had this injury crisis, right? And it would have made, I don't think anybody would even thought twice if he had brought in Fred instead of McTominay to start the match. In fact, I was expecting that he would. But he didn't. He was like, no, I don't want to.
Against Liverpool.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Against Liverpool. But, he didn't, instead of having to move multiple players, he was just like, no, I want to keep Herrera and Pogba in the positions that they're playing in well. So let me bring in a natural, defensive midfielder, or at least one that has been playing in that position for a while. And, academy player or not, like, that's fine. Let him play there. I trust him to do that. And the way he always talks about, he said something about Lingard. Maybe it was before or after the Arsenal FA Cup match. I don't remember specifically, but it stuck out to me because he said something like, they asked him a question about starting Lingard, and he's not like the most fancied player at the club, right? He's not this big, he's not like a hyped up star or anything like that. And he was, they asked him about starting him, and he said, I never worry about starting Jesse. Jesse has come through he's come through the club, he's come through the academy, he knows what this club is about. We would never worry about playing him in a starting 11 at Manchester United. So when you hear, I don't know, just the way he talks about it, I think what is good about Solskjaer is that you have a manager that doesn't just speak about understanding the club, but he actually acts it out, and his decisions show that he understands it, that he is willing to give younger players a chance, and that is inclusive, and it makes you want to stay here. So, sum it up, Mark's right. Fuck the loan system. Don't loan out kids. Let them play.
Trust them. Trust young people, and they will surprise you.
So yeah, look, let's talk about that Liverpool game then, since you mentioned it. It seems ages ago, but it's not even a week ago, because yeah, we're recording this Saturday night and it was last Sunday. So yeah, first ever 0-0 between United and Liverpool in the Premier League era at Old Trafford. But yeah, look, I was pretty happy with the result, really. I'd had a good mate of mine, even though, yeah, if you can think you can have good mates who are Liverpool fans, but yeah, I do. But he asked me pre-match.
My brother's a Liverpool fan, so there you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a relative. He said a friend. It's different.
My brother is my best friend, but either way, yeah, okay, take your point.
Yeah, he was heading up to the match saying, what you feeling? And I said, look, with the kind of we knew we had injuries before this game because, yeah, Martial, Lingard was out. We weren't sure about a couple of others. So, yeah, we knew we weren't going to have a first team out. So I said, yeah, look, I'll probably take a draw. And he said the same. He said, yeah, look, at this point, even I'll probably take a draw. But, yeah, maybe it's a good opportunity for it to do you. But the thing that I was really happy about in this game, and in fact, in the last month or so in general, has been our defensive side. Because in those first few Ole games, we were banging in goals, but we didn't keep any clean sheets. We were conceding random goals here and there. And today, again, actually, we've conceded 2. So, yeah, it's not the best example. But in general, I think our defensive side has come on a lot more since those first few Ole matches. And, we kept a few more clean sheets. And, yeah, to get 0-0 against apparently this world-beating Salah, Firmino, Mane front line, I barely even remember them having a shot, really. I think they had one shot on target.
Has Salah ever played well against us?
No, he hasn't. But yeah.
Didn't he score in the last game?
I don't think so. Mane scored.
No, I don't know.
And then Shaqiri scored too, remember?
Oh, God, yeah.
His super impressive brace that he had.
Yeah, and the really interesting comparison, of course, is that it wasn't that long ago, and it was obviously Mourinho's last match was Liverpool, and we were never in that game, right? It was such a difference against this one, where even though, yeah, I felt that we could have won this game. We had the better chances. They had, all right, more possession or whatever, but we actually had the better, clearer chances in this match to win this game. And at the end, almost disappointed that we didn't get a goal. But yeah, given our injuries, given the situation.
Smalling had a chance right at the end. I don't think he trusted himself to get to the ball. He didn't really extend for it on the cross. Yeah.
That was the big one, for me at least, like right at the end there. I think Alisson pulled off a really good save when Jesse went through. But the Smalling one was just, if it had been anybody else, they'd have taken a chance on it. Even Bailly probably would have taken a chance on it. Phil Jones probably would have buried it. It was just anyone but Smalling in that area.
Yeah, I mean, this whole period, in fact, because it's Liverpool, Palace, Southampton. And if you remember, I was pretty much like the last one who was still not ready to go full Jose out. But it was actually, I think we did a podcast after we'd played Southampton, Basel, Palace, and we'd got 2 draws and a lucky 1-0 win against Basel. And even I was kind of resigned at that point.
Wasn't it Young Boys?
Yeah, I don't really see where it's going from now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Young Boys.
How can you forget?
Beat them
Some
Swiss team. Anyway, yeah, they're all the same. Yeah, we got 1-0 against them in the middle, but it was a crap result. And then 2 awful draws against pretty poor Southampton and Palace teams at the time. And both of those teams are playing a lot better now. And we've beaten both of them in this week. So, yeah, just comparing where we were and it was only like 3 months ago, the difference between then and now, you can really compare in these kind of just run of 3 matches we've had this week, really.
Is that possibly the most special win we've had so far since coming back, given the manner of it?
Yeah, the manner of it is like the old days. Like I've been part of that so many times myself. And so pleased for the boys that they managed to claw 3 points out of this game, because we spoke about it at half-time. just get some more urgency, get ball in the box, play more forward, and the Stretford end will suck that ball in for you. Don't want to take it too much away from Andreas and Romelu, because they were great finishes, but we felt that support that's just part of this club and the history. We've done it so many times before.
I wasn't in the stadium that day, unfortunately, because I was actually playing myself. I played last week in the FA People's Cup, Veterans Edition, yeah. Reached the quarterfinals of the London Heats. We were actually disappointed because we were semi-finalists last year. But yeah, hoping to go. Well, if you reach the final, you go to the national tournament. So yeah, we were a bit disappointed this year. So that's why I didn't go to that Liverpool game last week. But the atmosphere
was awesome.
Sounded absolutely mega, yeah. And I'm always a bit reluctant to be talking about atmosphere when you're watching on the television, because as somebody, who goes to the matches quite a lot, and you often hear people complaining about the atmosphere, and when you're actually in the ground, it's often totally different than how things come through on the television. But everybody, even you who's in the ground, said that, this was a special occasion, that for the first time in years, literally the whole ground was bouncing. Even like the South stand that's normally silent, even for the big matches, there was still some people joining in and whatever, which is, an absolute rare thing. And I think it just kind of shows where the whole club is at now. Everybody's feeling so much better, happier. There's this big song, obviously. Ole's at the wheel going round over there. I don't know, Ashwin, do you know who the Stone Roses are?
I don't actually know, but I know the song.
Ole's at the wheel. Tell me how good does it feel? We've got Sanchez, Pogba, and Fred. Marcus Rashford is like born and bred. The greatest of English football. We've won it all.
Oh, well, listen, you need to go and listen to the Stone Roses debut album
in your ears right now.
That's like the kind of, I'm grown up on this stuff, yeah. And I know that you may be more on like a hip hop tip or something like that, but yeah.
To be fair to him, he's got the Liquid Swords
exactly.
His picture, so props for that. But I mean, you need that.
You need to go and listen to the Stone Roses debut album. Like I say, this is the stuff I've grown up on, and that's the current big song that's going all around. The only problem.
How old are you, Nick?
How old am I? I'm 40 something.
No, even on the commentary here, there was like, I think because it was really, you could really sense it at the beginning of the second half, and it was like a period where we dominated it. We had the ball around their half in the attacking third anyway for quite a bit of time. But, on the commentary here, they just stopped talking for a little bit, and the announcer was like, just listen to Old Trafford. And, like, they literally just stopped talking for about 30 seconds. And all you could hear was, the entire stadium singing. So, I know you said that things sometimes get lost in translating to TV, but I think that that did not. That sounded very, very impressive. And
the only problem I have with that song now is that the two prominent names in that song are Sanchez and Fred. There were two players who do not deserve to be sang about every week at the moment.
Fred had an assist today. Just want to throw that out there.
All right, but yeah. I mean, we haven't really talked about Fred, but I mean, the only reason Fred's name is in that because the next line, it needs to rhyme with bread, right? So fair enough, we can throw Fred in there, but Sanchez could have been literally anybody. There's no reason for his name to be in that song whatsoever. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame there with the names chosen. That's my only slight quibble.
We could rearrange it. It could be, we've got Rashford, Paul Pogba, and Chong, who's now playing because Sanchez is gone.
Yeah. But anyway, look, like I say, I'm not going to complain when, there's been a lot of efforts being made to improve the atmosphere and things like that at Old Trafford. So, yeah, I'm not going to get too hepped up on what's being sung as long as people are singing and noise is being made. I think it's great. But
it turns out all it needed was some good football. Who'd have thought?
Look, there's just good football, people feeling good about the club. And I think really it comes back to this thing now that, is there any way they can't give Ole the job? At this point, he's breaking all records. No. Like, what record did he break? There's like most away wins in the history of the club in a row.
8 wins on the spin.
Yeah.
8 wins.
Most away
we've
wins,
ever
I think,
had.
to start at like.
No, it was the most that we've ever had as a club on the spin
In a row.
8,
Yeah.
on the road. 8 away wins on the spin, and that's the most that we've ever had as a club.
Yeah.
He's also broken the all-time Premier League record for the most points for a manager from them starting. I think it was actually in the Liverpool game, even though we drew it. He broke
32 points.
I could put it out to you. Do you have any idea whose record he broke for the best record after best number of points after the first 10 matches for a manager?
It's got to be Guardiola.
Mourinho?
No, it's not Guardiola. No, it was actually Gus Hiddink at Chelsea,
fair enough.
who apparently had this record. It's not something you're going to guess.
That's a pub quiz question, isn't it?
One thing I really like about what he's done, though, is more than, obviously we're playing better, but like in that match, the match against Chelsea and then against Liverpool, against Chelsea, we were just more physical than them. We were tougher than them. And, Liverpool, I don't know if I would say we were tougher or more physical, but I remember watching Liverpool play City earlier this year, the second match at the Etihad that City won 2-1. And I remember how intense and physical that match was, and thinking to myself, like, wow, if we played them right now, we would just get completely rocked. But when we played them at Old Trafford, we had all these injuries and all these substitutions have to be made. But everybody that played, it felt like everybody was totally 100% committed. Mata's last action of the match was to sprint back hurt from a corner as Liverpool were countering, and then putting in a challenge on Salah in space and getting possession back for us. So just like I know that's it's hard to quantify, but I think that there's like a toughness to how we're playing now, not just mental but also physical, that just was never, I don't know, like for somebody like Jose who obsesses over that kind of stuff, he was never really able to instill it into the team. And then, we know that Van Gaal and Moyes obviously didn't either, but there's just been a toughness about our displays lately that, I don't know, for me personally, I just really enjoy that part of what we're seeing under Solskjaer, that it's not just, a matter of, they're playing so much more beautiful football now, but also that when you need to get gritty and dirty, that we're able to do that, and we're able to win matches in that sense too, or at least get results in that way.
That's exactly what I was just saying about how, our defensive side has improved. When he first came in, he was improving the attacking side, but now the last month or so, our real defensive side and teamwork has improved a lot as well. I think we've only briefly touched on those Palace and Liverpool games, but I think, we've kind of covered a lot of those things there. I think maybe look forward now at our next couple of matches. We're going out to Paris on Wednesday. I mean, for me, this tie is almost a write-off. Or do either of you guys think that we can get back in this game anyway? I mean, my biggest issue
after today, yeah.
Well, my biggest issue, of course, is that Pogba is not playing in that match. So we start it.
Don't care.
2 down.
Episode 9, Return of the Fred.
Yeah, we got Fred. Like the song says, Sanchez, Paul Pogba, and Fred. So we should be okay.
So what? Go on. So tell. What do you? How do you? Fred's had a bit of a chance. He's taken a fair bit of flack on Red Cafe, and there's a whole thread about actually why did we buy Fred, which I actually understand for me is still a slightly bizarre transfer. That I think we're actually pretty the area of the field where we've got more options than anywhere is midfield, and for it to be our one kind of summer big signing, I did think it was a bit strange, to be honest. But I'm not ready
because Mourinho wanted rid of Pogba. That's why we bought him.
Well, I actually thought at the time that when we bought him, we hadn't re-signed Fellaini, and I just thought, all right, Fellaini must be leaving, so, they're just bringing in an extra body in midfield.
Well, there was always that as well. Yeah.
But then Fellaini re-signed as well, and I was like, well, where the hell are we going to fit in all these midfielders? But I'm not ready to write the guy off because there's tons of players who've taken at least a year to adapt to the Premier League. There's so many examples of players who've taken a while and then been very good players after taking a year or so. Whereas, people nowadays are too quick to say, oh, surely he's leaving in the summer and whatever. But at the same time, I've not been particularly enamored with him at any point. So, he had a start midweek and had a few minutes today, So yeah, I don't know, where do you guys see him? Do you have hope for him, or do you want to see him play more?
I'm quite happy for him to. I mean, he's going to be put into sort of the fire, so to speak, on Wednesday, and it's not. I mean, Solskjaer is too smart for it to be a sink or swim game, or for him to even consider it along those terms. But it'll be I think it'll be interesting how he performs on Wednesday. Will probably inform a lot of where his United career goes from here. Everyone bar Sanchez has kind of had a bit of a redemption story or a bit of a redemption performance. I suppose you could probably maybe put Sanchez's performance in the FA Cup against Arsenal into that bracket, but everybody's had that one performance whereby under Solskjaer whereby they've stood out and they've kind of got the Mourinho out their legs, so to speak. I hope it's Wednesday for Fred, because we're going to need a big performance from somebody in midfield, and we're going to be going into this with probably a midfield three of McTominay, Pereira, and Fred against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League away from home.
But I mean, you said it before. We can do them.
We can do it. We can do it. I fully I'm fully behind the notion that anything seems possible under Ole now. That's just where he's got us. That's why to refer to the last question, that's why he needs to be given the job, because it just feels like we go into every game like thinking, yeah, we can win this, we can do this. Look, whereas under Jose, it was like, well, maybe if we can eke out a point here or there,
that's true.
A draw would be a good result. No, we're going to Tottenham, we're going to Stamford Bridge, we're going to the Emirates, and we're turning these teams over, and we're doing it well. And it's just, why not in Paris? Why the fuck not? We put two past Chelsea at their gaff. We put 3 past Arsenal at theirs. Let's go and stick 3 past Paris Saint-Germain now and just do them. Like, I got excited for the last one, I will admit. So I'm a bit prone to getting carried away with European games. But there's no reason why we can't do it. Absolutely no reason at all.
And I also think that, like, I don't know, some of these European ties last year have been so crazy. Like, Juve almost came back down from 3 against Madrid. Barca did come back down from, what were they, like 4-0 down? 5-1 on aggregate at one point to PSG. Yeah. So, I mean, I know that, actually, Juve did it away. They were at the Bernabeu last year and they almost came back. So, like, I think the key is always, obviously, you want to start off well, but if you can get an early goal, I mean, then we have to get the first goal. I think that's obviously the key. To have any hope, you have to get the first goal, because, then that puts a lot of pressure back on them. And I mean, in general, I think for us, we should be playing without any pressure in this, because it's almost like a free hit at this point. No Pogba. Yeah. We're down 2-0. If there's ever a time to have a crazy result, I think this would be kind of the time, because of of the nature of it. It's like, even if we lose 2-0, 3-0, I don't think anybody is gonna, there's no pressure even on Solskjaer to get a result here. So just go for it.
Yeah, and there is going to be a huge crew of United fans who are going out there. I've seen figures of something like 15,000 that are expected to go out there, even though we've only got 5,000 tickets, or maybe not even that. There's going to be a ridiculous amount of our fans out there, even though not much is expected from the match. Just had a quick look in. Paris have won their kind of 5 matches since they've last played us. So yeah.
How long does it take to get from Manchester to Paris?
From Manchester, it depends how you go. There's tons of flights. Yeah. From London, it's actually, Paris is the same train ride as going to Manchester from London.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours. You're in Paris, 2.5 hours. You're in Manchester. It's like the same distance. But it's from Manchester, probably people will fly. But yeah, there's a lot of options from going on the train. So yeah, it's a very easy trip. So there'll be tons of ticketless fans turning up there for the atmosphere. And they'll make a good party of it, whether the match works or not. Like I say, for me, I'm kind of mentally writing it off. Like you say, there's no pressure on it, so maybe. Yeah, but you're right, at 2-0, you get 1 goal, they start worrying about it, and they've got a track record as well of going in with leads from that first leg, right, and throwing it away. So yeah, they'll definitely worry if we score that one goal from somewhere. Yeah, look, let's see what we can do there. Like I say, it's a free hit. See what my only worry is what kind of team should he put out there? Because in fact, the match next weekend
Arsenal
is of massive importance against Arsenal. Now in that kind of top 4 race where it's all very bunched up now. I mean, yeah, we're sat in 4th place on 58 points. Arsenal just 1 point behind us on 57. Chelsea are looking a fair way back at the moment, but they've got 2 games in hand. And if they won both their games in hand, they'd actually leapfrog us onto 59 points. So, yeah, it's all looking bunched up. But, yeah, that Arsenal-Tottenham result today at 1-1 was actually, I say, a good result for us because we're only now 3 points behind Tottenham in 3rd place.
Tottenham are right back in the they're in the top 4 race now. They're not in the title race anymore. And it's always good when another team, you don't want to see a team coming from up behind, but if you see a team coming back towards you, like their momentum has just gone completely the other way since we beat them.
It's always good when you put pressure on Spurs.
Yeah.
It's actually weird that Harry Kane has come back and Spurs have lost 2 matches and drawn 1 since that.
They were shit today. They were so bad in that match. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was
such a soft penalty as well.
Yeah, he was offside first of all.
Yeah.
He was off on the penalty. And yeah, but like they were I was just talking about toughness. Like Arsenal were just wanted it more than them. They were so much tougher than them in every area of the pitch. It was if that's happening to you at Wembley, something is up. Something's they're just it looks like they're running out of gas. That's what it looks like to me.
They are sort of limping towards the line at this point. The end of the season can't come quick enough, it looks like, for them. The only thing that might sort of work in their favour is there might be sort of like a rallying point, and they have enough games to kind of galvanise themselves again. It's not as if like they're hitting this bad run of form with only 5 or 6 games left to go. Like they've still got quite a few games left to go, and whereby they can still get a fair decent amount of points.
Yeah.
So
I think they still have City away and Liverpool away though for the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the tough thing for them. Yeah, they need a result in one of those 2 if they're going to stand any chance of top 4 at this point, I think. I hope it's against Liverpool.
They have some annoying matches. I'm just looking at their schedule now. They have Southampton away next weekend. That's not going to be a fun match. Yeah, they have some. Yeah, that's good luck to them. Not really, but.
So yeah, look, it's only like a month ago that we played Arsenal away and 3-1 win in the FA Cup, obviously. So we're expecting more of the same.
They're in better form right now. They're in way better form right now.
They are better form.
They've really turned a corner since that game. Xhaka looks at it like Socrates has come back, and he looks pretty much at it as well. He's picking up from where we left off. He's been really good. Mustafi's still a bit of a liability.
Is there any chance Lingard will be back for this? Do we know?
I don't.
Not really sure where they're at with the injuries, and yeah, Martial like two weeks ago was like a maybe, but still hasn't even made the bench. So yeah, I'm not too sure.
He's been saved for Wednesday. Trust me on that. That'll be a front three of Martial, Lukaku, and Rashford. Absolutely, no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, you could well be right on that. You could well be right. Yeah, Mkhitaryan had a good game for Arsenal in midfield, in midweek.
Yeah.
But they had Torreira was sent off, so I assume that means he's suspended against us.
Yeah, that was a straight red. I thought that was a bit harsh, actually, because he only had eyes for the ball, but, you know.
You can't get someone with someone's shit.
Right, no, I understand.
Regardless of if Danny Rose should be on the pitch or not, which, by the way, he shouldn't have been.
He shouldn't have been. Xhaka shouldn't have been on at the end of the pit. Like, it was that was just a terrible performance from Anthony Taylor. I think he was the ref today. Yeah,
I mean, it was interesting that even though he's their top scorer, that Aubameyang didn't start the match today. They started with Lacazette up front on their own, and he just came off the bench. Although, yeah, I know he has been injured recently and is just kind of coming back from that. Uh-huh. But yeah, I remember when we played against them in the FA Cup that my Arsenal supporting mate was quite annoyed that they hadn't started with both Aubameyang and Lacazette. I think a lot of Arsenal fans have been wanting them to both start in a lot of games, whereas he's been preferring just to go with one.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans need to just shut the fuck up, because they have 57 points, they have a chance at top 4, and they're like, Emery's doing a good job. I think they should probably just accept that, be happy with where they are, and yeah, I'm so sick of Arsenal fans and just how stupid and deluded they are. Your squad is shit compared to the rest of compared to City. Like, if you compared our squad to Arsenal squad, how many players would you actually take from Arsenal? There are not that many players I would take from Arsenal.
Take Bellerin.
Yeah, I'd take Bellerin because it'd be nice to have another right back. But too bad
I'd take Mick. There's this Armenian that they have called Mkhitaryan.
They probably take him. But you know what I mean? Like, I look at their squad.
I'd take Ramsey. They're not having him anyway.
I just look at their squad and it's like I think that he's doing a great job and they should probably just
Yeah, no, I actually didn't expect, Arsenal to be anywhere near top four. You kind of thought they'd go through this kind of transition, lost period like we did after Ferguson left. Whereas, Emery, I agree. I think he's done a pretty decent job to get them where they are, to is in shout of battling there. And I'm pretty sure this will be a more difficult game than we had in the FA Cup. I'm sure they will have learnt from that, of how we did them that day. For me, like I say, I'm kind of looking past the Paris game. If we can get anything from that, it's going to be outstanding and really focused.
Are you going to this? Are you going to Arsenal?
I don't have it. No, I'm actually going to be abroad anyway. I'm going to be watching both of these games in Morocco. I'm out there for work for the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I'm not going to be around for either of these. I'll be watching them out there. Normally get Andy Gray and Richard Keys on the commentary out in Morocco. Being sports, it's like going back to the original 90s Sky Sports days. It's like retro.
Don't they have John Barnes too on there?
No, not seen John Barnes on there. They have a few really random guys, but yeah.
John Barnes is too busy being Liam Neeson's defence lawyer at the minute.
But yeah, as I say, I look forward to going back to the 90s and watching the commentary on these games on Bein Sport Middle East. But look, like I say, to come through this kind of week we've had with all these injuries, still have that kind of unbeaten league record.
7 points.
2 wins against much improving teams. 0-0 against world-beating Liverpool. Things are still we're still in like that kind of dream world at the moment. Sooner or later, it's all going to go. It can't stay as good as this, but yeah. Well, as we say, I think the conclusion of it all is how can we possibly not give the job to Ole at this point? And I think there's quite a few sounds in the background that kind of deal is done, right? I think you were both mentioning a couple of things that have been happening that are pointing towards the fact that they're not really looking any further than Solskjaer at the moment.
Yeah, there was the one thing we alluded to it before we started recording, but I think Ole's kind of let slip that the Phil Jones contract was his decision, which would kind of immediately set alarm bells off that it's going to be him. Not alarm bells, but you know what I mean. And he's been spotted in some promo materials for season tickets and kits next year. So, I think it's a lock at this point, isn't it? I think he knows it as well. I think he's kind of got over the last couple of weeks. He seems to have another extra spring in his step, so to speak. So he's. I think Ole definitely is at the wheel. Yeah,
the only slight worry I have, and we're kind of at the end of the show now.
Shut up. There's nothing to worry.
No, but yeah, my only thing is that, when we talked about when Mourinho left, we all said, listen, we need to have a change of structure in the club. We need to be getting a director of football in, and there needs to be a big change. And I'm worried now that Ole, they're just going to say, right, look, he's done so well, we'll give him the job, but just keep everything else as it is. No. Which for me, in the kind of long term, is not the right idea.
If Phelan stays, but I'm assuming he would stay also in this scenario.
Definitely.
Wasn't he like the sporting director at whatever Australian club he was just at before?
Yeah, but I don't think that means a lot, to be honest.
No, I'm not saying it. It doesn't necessarily mean to be a lot, but there is something to be said just about. Like I agree. I still would. I'm with you. I still think that we should bring in a dedicated sporting director, and that's necessary. But I guess if there's any chance for this to not be a complete disaster, or to work out better than it has, it would probably be that maybe Phelan is able to do some of this behind the scenes work and is familiar with it from previously being at the club. I'm obviously.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And like we've talked, before on this podcast that clearly it's not just Ole. There is a whole team there already of like 4, even 5 of them that are all contributing to this. So it's not just that he's on his own and then, having to deal with Woodward. I mean, yeah, at the moment, I don't even know. Is it Ole dealing with Woodward? Is it Phelan? Because I guess Phelan maybe knows him from before. I don't know. I mean, they were both at the club at the same time. So I don't know if they had any kind of relationship because Woodward wasn't in the same position at that time. So yeah, maybe their paths hadn't crossed, but yeah, you would have thought maybe at some point they did have some kind of relationship. So yeah, we don't kind of know, I guess. But that is my only slight thing, that I still think there does need to be a bit of a change in the whole way the club is run. And I worry that just because he's done so well that they'll just kind of gloss over that, forget it, and just go back to how it.
Another thing to worry about is that he's gotten so many of these quote unquote underperforming players performing again that Woodward is just like, oh no, see, I know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing this entire time. We don't need to change anything. That would be the other concern of maybe what he views as happening here. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that's not what happens, and we do kind of take this as a reprieve and not as the complete solution. But we'll only know in time. I think they asked him about it on an investors call a couple weeks ago, and he said that there was no further announcement they were making other than the one that had previously been made. So yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we won't really know until the end of the season about sporting director or otherwise. But regardless of that, I do think I'd be very surprised, barring some mega collapse in the last 9 matches. I'd be shocked if Solskjaer's not the manager next year.
Yeah, and I think we're all in agreement on that. And that's probably about the right place to finish the show this week. We'll hopefully be back maybe after Arsenal, or definitely after the Wolves FA Cup match, which is the next one after that. Please do check us out. I always forget to do this and got reminded that, yeah, you need to hit us up on Twitter and Facebook, and we've got a Patreon. And if you're listening on iTunes, do give us a review on there because it helps us out on all sorts of ways. And yeah, any feedback you've got, put it in the thread on Red Cafe. And yeah, we like to hear everything you have to say about it all. And yeah, good one to finish there. Good night from me.
Good night from me.
And good night from him.
We've got Sanchez, Pop, Burn and Fred. Marcus Rashford is like born and bred. The greatest of English football. We've won it all. Always at the wheel. Tell me how good does it feel? We've got Sanchez, Pop, Burn and Fred. Marcus Rashford is like born and bred. The greatest of English football. We've won it all.